Okay, so this, our third and final unit, is our APA unit. And I know that we've just kind of gotten the hang of MLA format, and now we're going to pile on APA format. And there are, in terms of format, there's not a lot of difference between APA and MLA. But the difference is going to come with your in-text citations in your reference page and the actual layout of the paper. So I'm going to break this up into about three parts and try to give as much information without boring you guys to tears. So APA format, or APA, basically stands for the American Psychological Association, and where MLA is used for the humanities, APA is used for things like social sciences, like psychology, sociology, and the sciences. That's the format for those particular disciplines. Also, like MLA, APA regulates stylistics, which we'll talk about, in-text citations, and references. And if you think back to MLA format, references were categorized as works cited, but with APA, it's not a works cited page. It's always going to be a reference page, or a page of references. So, how to format an APA paper? Like MLA, everything is double spaced. The font size for typing is 10 to 12 point Times New Roman font. I require that you use 12 point Times New Roman font because A, it's easier to read, and B, it takes up more space than 10 point Times New Roman. So 12 point Times New Roman font and 1 inch margins, which is standard on any kind of word processor or Google Docs format. Another general guideline is that every page should include a page number in the upper right hand corner. Now, APA did a change a couple of, maybe about a year ago now. So things are a little bit different. Some of my sample papers reflect that. So I'm trying to get new sample papers for the new guidelines. So but those changes basically, for our purposes, distinguish professional publications or professional papers versus student written papers. And for the purposes, I'll note some differences for references, but for our purposes, I am just going to talk about how to format a student paper. Traditionally, the old way, APA had what we call a running header, and that is basically this little header of a title right here. But that is no longer required for student papers. So for your purposes, for you, the only thing that is required in the upper right or left-hand corner is the page number in the upper right. You do not need this running head. APA papers basically have four main parts, and I'm going to break those down for you guys. But there's four parts: title page, abstract, main body, and references. So let's look at a title page. A title page is one of those real defining differences between MLA and APA format. Remember, MLA, you don't have a title page, and your name and the information that is on the title page is in that upper left-hand corner. So on your title page, I'm going to be looking for two things. And the first is a page number in the upper right-hand corner. There is no, remember, there is no running head in the upper left-hand corner. Simply insert a page number right here. The other thing that I'm going to be looking for is a title in the upper half of the page that is centered. That title is bolded, right? And centered. The other thing that I'm going to be looking for is your name, right? Underneath the title is your name. That is not bolded. All of this is normal. Your name. The academic department, which is the Department of English. The university or the institution, which is Germanic Community College. The title of the course, English 111. My name, and then the date that it is due. And you'll notice, if I can make this bigger, hold on if I can. You'll notice that this date, it's not formatted like you would an MLA date. It is the way we typically format dates. So July 30th, 2021, or what have you. So that is what's on the title page. Your title, your name, the department in the institution or the university, course name, my name, and then the date. So keep that in mind. Those are all things that you need to have on your title page, and all of this information is slightly different from the older versions of APA. So the second thing after your title page, and one of the other defining characteristics of APA format, is an abstract. And we're going to talk about abstracts next week. And abstract, again, your page number, upper right hand corner, and then the title abstract, bolded, and in the center of the page. And underneath is the 150 word summary of your paper. And we'll talk more about, like I said, formulating your abstract next week. But an abstract is essentially a summary of your paper. And usually you tend to write your abstracts after you've written the paper, because it's easier to summarize something that you've written rather than something that you are yet to write. So that is what an abstract is, and that's where it belongs in your paper. So title page, abstract. And then finally, the meat and potatoes of your paper, which is the main body. And your first page should be titled page number 3. The title is centered and bolded at the top. It is all double spaced. And your sources, which I'm going to talk about when we talk about in-text citations, are either given with narrative citations with signal phrases, that's another way of saying narrative citations, or parenthetical in-text citations. So hang on to that idea, but because we're going to talk about that. But your main body is essentially the main body of your paper. You can have headers or not. But that comes after your title page and your abstract. All right, and then finally, the last key component or key part of APA format is your reference page. And this is essentially a lot of the there are a lot of similarities to a reference page to a works cited page. In that it belongs on its own separate page. It's greedy, it needs its own place. And the title of the word references, remember it's not works cited, it is references, is also bolded and centered. Okay. Your citations are also double spaced. And there's also, like with MLA style in a works cited page, that hanging indent. And also, like MLA format, the sources are alphabetized by author's last name. So I do want to talk more about the differences because you'll notice that this is kind of weird and different. Um, the changes that not the changes, but the differences of reference pages for an APA style paper versus a works cited page in my next little video, which we'll pick up after this one. So just to reiterate, um, APA format requires that you have a title page, an abstract, a main body, and a reference page. So keep that in the back of your mind. And also, it's important to notice what you need for your your title page for that. All that information. So I'm going to pick up with talking more about references in just a second. So stay tuned.